Congratulations, you've made it to the end of Unit 7. You are this close to completing the course, so I urge you to keep pushing. I hope that you feel that you have learned several important lessons at a very high level, at a big picture level in this unit. Number one is that the market generating outcomes with perfect competition are fundamentally different from the outcomes generated in markets with monopolies. First, the first welfare theorem breaks, and second, because the monopolist is no longer a price taker, a very interesting set of features that we observe in the marketplace, like price discrimination, like quantity discounts, arise. However, having said this, I want to bring you back to Unit 1, in which we saw that the fundamental problem that any company is trying to solve is maximize profits, and that leads them to equate marginal revenue and marginal cost. Please notice how that fundamental lesson has not disappeared in this unit. Even though things look different, the problem definitely looks more complicated, that fundamental force is still there. Let me summarize some of the key ideas that are worth committing to memory from this unit. We have looked at different types of the monopoly problem based on what is the extent to which the monopolies can discriminate. So first we look at monopolies without price discrimination. And in that case, what we saw is that the monopolist sets marginal revenue equals to marginal cost, and that the first welfare theorem fails, so we have an inefficiency. The deadweight loss is greater than 0. Then we look at the monopolist with perfect price discrimination. And we saw that in that particular case, there is no deadweight loss, but that the monopolist basically ends up charging this unit and individual specific prices that allow us to extract all of the social surplus. In other words, the producer surplus is equal to the social surplus. We finally look at those set of circumstances that perhaps are more realistic, in which the monopolies have imperfect price discrimination abilities. And for example, we look at the multi-market. In particular, I want to highlight that, the multi-market price discrimination. And we saw in that case what the monopolist does is sets the marginal revenue in every market I equals to the marginal cost, and that still generates a deadweight loss. Okay. Second, we also look at what are the policy tools that the government has to deal with monopoly in the case of full information. And let me highlight that all of these results really depend on this assumption of full information that is not particularly realistic, but we cannot attack the full case in this course. What we saw is that the government can do regulation, or it can engage in a subsidy policy. With regulation, basically what it does is induces the firm to choose Q monopoly equals to the optimal quantity, either through a price or a quantity regulation. And if it's in a price regulation, what it says is the price of the monopoly is equal to the aggregate marginal benefit at this Q optimal quantity. Now, with a subsidy, what the government does, it lets the monopoly do whatever it wants, but it sets a subsidy which is equal to the aggregate marginal benefit at the optimal quantity minus the marginal revenue at the optimal quantity, and this is greater than 0. In both cases, the deadweight loss is equal to 0. Finally, let me preview the next things that you need to do to keep advancing or making progress in the course. Please do problem set 7. It would really solidify your understanding of the material. And next unit, we're going to continue our study of imperfect competition by looking at the case of oligopoly that you should think intuitively as monopoly with more than 2 or more firms, and the case of monopolistic competition, which is going to be very interesting for branding and marketing. It has big implications for that we will explore.